This is the Friary. It is a day centre for homeless and vulnerable adults.
It is next to Friary Church, and it helps people rebuild their lives by offering practical help with food and health services, advice and support. And it's free to anyone who needs their help.
Inside the Friary there is a large cafe area with a serving hatch. When we visited, this space was being used to collect and sort donations of food, clothes and other items.
Donations are carefully sorted and stored, ready to be given to homeless and vulnerable adults who are in need.
The Friary has a well-equipped kitchen to cook meals for the service users.
There are toilets and showers for the people who are homeless to use. There are also washing machines to clean their clothes.
There are lots of volunteers, and we interviewed some members of the team to find out more about what happens at the Friary and why its work is so important.
What started the Friary and when was it started?
Well, I'm a member of Friary Church. We talked and we discussed how the church could be seen to be outreach to those people in our community who weren't as fortunate as ourselves. So that was 1988, yeah? Okay. Friary Church itself was only open 1 hour or so a week. And for me, I think the church needs to be available, and I use that word, to the whole community. So if you like, you can almost say, I felt a calling by God to do something. And at that point in time, I wasn't sure what that was going to be. But I knew that I wanted to work in the community. I wanted to get alongside people to learn and understand where they were at.
What is the Friary and how does it help people?
Well, the Friary is a day centre for people to come to get support, all kinds of support, so emotional support, health, if you're poorly and you're homeless, you haven't got a doctor, they're hungry, they need food, they need showers, because how do you keep clean if you're on the streets? It's not easy. Well, they're very often rock bottom. They've lost everything. They've lost their home, they've lost their family. And I think lastly, they've lost their self-respect. They don't believe in themselves anymore. So what we do is to try and build people up. To say, we'll pray for you, we will support you in everything that you want. Because everyone's an individual, everyone's got different problems, some the same, but there are people who've got addiction issues, so alcohol and drugs or gambling, and they've lost everything. They've lost their job, they've lost their home, their family. And so it's about talking with them, and when they're ready, because you've got to be at the right time, when they're ready, to give them that support and signpost to where they can get that help. And we're very fortunate that our doctor, he is a lead specialist in addiction. So he's very understanding, very supportive when people at the right time want to come off the drugs or the alcohol.
What's the average age of your service users?
Oh, average age. I'm going to say in their 40s. Because of lifestyle, people don't really live to be old, unfortunately. It's poor nutrition, it's neglect, health neglect. All the more reason why it's so important that we've got those health services, because I believe in prevention. So our doctors and nurses will be checking for diabetes, hepatitis, which is related to the drugs. Those we've got people with AIDS and HIV, but it's about getting the right treatment to lengthen their life. Under normal times, the other services that we have is a chiropodist, so that's somebody looking after your feet, because believe you me, some people's feet are in a terrible, terrible state. They've got blisters, they've got something that's called trench foot, which you won't know what it is. But soldiers in the wartime would often have trench foot because they never took the boots off, they would have wet feet. And it's really, really painful and uncomfortable. So we have a chiropodist, we have a barber who not only cuts hair but cuts beards. So we've got one gentleman who's got a really long beard, and we've got an optician who comes in. Again, it's all very difficult if you're homeless and not able to get all these services. And food is so important, so hence you've seen all the food coming in today, and under normal circumstances our cook, who you've seen, will be cooking a very nutritious meal. We have 3 allotments and we get the fresh food off the allotments, both to give out and to cook.
What different things do the volunteers do?
So we've got people working on the allotments, that's run totally by volunteers. We've got people working in the centre, doing laundry, the stores, so sorting the clothing, sorting the food, serving behind the coffee bar on a regular basis, they do. We've got drivers, you've probably seen the 2 vans out there.
Mm-hmm.
So tomorrow morning, for instance, a volunteer will come along and he'll go to 3-4 supermarkets and collect any of the food that's best before, not used by, best before date. They'll be donating to us, and that is then given to our visitors. Volunteers who do fundraising. I mean, the barber, for instance, and the chiropodist, they do it on a voluntary basis, and the optician. We have a lady who makes cakes on a regular basis. There's so many. We have over 100 volunteers.
Wow.
Yes. We've got volunteers who help in the admin office. Yes, it's very varied. Very varied indeed.
Yeah. And do any of the people turn into volunteers?
Do any of the service users? Yes, they have done. And we've had volunteers who've then become paid staff as well. And we had a caretaker who was a service user who became a volunteer and then became a paid staff.
How many people do you help each week?
How many people do we help each week? So, we roughly help 1,000 people in the year. So that tends to be the numbers of people at the end of the year. Over the last few years, it tends to be about 1,000 people that we've helped. So we tend to have between 30 and 40 people a day who come to the centre for support, and we do everything we can to help them. That's 1,000 different people as well. That's not 1,000 times that people come, that's 1,000 different people that we help. So it shows how many people over a year need help from us.
Do you help them find permanent homes and jobs?
We really hope that we can find permanent homes for people. One of the biggest problems I think in the country at the moment is there aren't enough houses for people. A lot of properties are for people who've got money to buy the properties. For the people who haven't, who need support from the government and things like that, there aren't as many of these houses, what we would call social housing. So we do everything we can to find houses for people, but often it can be really challenging. We work really closely with the councils who provide some of the social housing, and we also work closely with Framework, a charity locally that provides housing for people. And as long as there's people walking around who haven't got a house, we'll be here and we'll be trying to find them a house.
Are they all homeless, and why are they homeless?
Right. They're not all homeless. Some have places to live and to stay, but they might not have the money to pay for electricity, or to pay for their gas, or to pay for food. There's different reasons why. And if some are homeless, again, they may have lost their jobs. And if you don't have a job, you don't have money coming in. And if you don't have money coming in, you can't pay your bills. Sometimes it might be through ill health. There's a lot of reasons why some people are homeless. Some people can't cope with the responsibilities of looking after a home, so they need support. So there's different reasons.
Do you ever help children or families?
We do, yes, particularly with food and clothing. We can't have children within the centre under the age of 18, but nevertheless that doesn't mean we don't support. We do. Because if there's a family who are waiting for their benefits and they have no food, then we know how important it is. So yeah.
Do you take care of their pets?
Right, yeah, very important. The reason why a lot of the homeless people have pets is something that they love and care for. It's the only thing they probably own. Food for the animals are really important. We've also got, we can refer pets into something what's called Vets in the Community, which is a free service. So if a dog's got a cut or needs medication, we can refer them and it's all free. But the other reason why homeless people have a dog is for protection. If you're laying on the ground, a dog has got very acute hearing. And if someone's going to approach you, they hear first and probably move or bark to alert you. Alongside that, you've got the dog there for warmth. It's really warm.
How do the homeless people get here, and how do they know you're even here?
They get here usually by walking. They walk miles and miles in a day. How do they know? It's word of mouth, really. So if you're on the streets and you meet other homeless people, there's that network of saying, people say, have you been to the Friary? Well, where's that? Yeah, so if you're coming from Nottingham, they say, well, just go over the river and then you're into Mustard Road. It's not uncommon for people, I mean, they come from all over the country, Scotland and the North East, and I had a chap recently from Southampton, and he came for the first time. And so it's always interesting to ask that question, well, how did you find out about us? And he said, oh, I was in a hostel in Southampton, and I was told by this guy, if you ever go to Nottingham, you must go to the Friary. And he'd remembered that. So it is word of mouth.
What differences does the Friary make to your service users?
Well, this is one question that I think the best people to ask aren't the people who work here. I think it's the people who we do support. But as they're not here, I'll try and answer for them, and I'll try and answer based on what they've said to me in the past. A lot of us have, or most of us have, a family at home. We have family that we can get support from. Often the people who come to the Friary don't have anyone that can help them, and that's the reason that they come to the Friary, because there's no one in their life that can support them to look at getting housing or to find cook their dinners and things like that. So the way they see it is that they see that we are their family. We are the people that they can come to when they need something. What we would like to happen is they come to us for a period of time, and then after that they feel like they can go on their own. And often what we get from our service users is they say that the Friary helped them get back on track. So it helped them in a really difficult time. It helped them to stabilise their life, and their life became a bit better. And what they were then able to do is move away from the support at the Friary and go out there and find a job or find some housing. And then they will often come back to us and say, without you, we wouldn't have been able to do what we did, and we don't know where we'd be. I have got some quotes from some of our service users that I can let you guys have to take away with you as well. So hopefully that will help.
Without the Friary, I would have been lost and alone.
The centre has kept me staying warm and staying alive. The Friary has helped me to get housing when I was homeless. They also provided me with all my furnishings to make my place a home. The Friary do a wonderful job and make people's lives more stable and happier.
The Friary job has been excellent for support and facilities. The staff have a very friendly attitude and are helpful in every way. I have been helped especially with housing.
The Friary helped me get my flat and I can use the phone to ring places. There are things out there to help you, but you need the Friary to help you get in touch with them. Friary helps me when I get low.
The Friary helps you progress. It is a stepping stone. It helps you on your way.
Everyone there is friendly. Everyone there understands because we're in the same boat but with different problems. All the different categories here is like a team. All people need help at some stage in their lives. The Friary is like a second home to me. They are good people, friendly people who try to do everything possible to help. The Friary helps people build their lives from zero. Without hope, I would be dead, and the Friary gives people hope.
So what inspired you to be part of the team?
I think firstly because I'm an active Christian, I know that the Friary works to a Christian way, and that would mean that they're kind to people, people that they don't know, people who are hungry, we feed them, people who need clothing, we give them clothing, and if they just need a listening ear, we listen to them.
What inspired you to be part of the team?
I used to do a lot of jobs where I didn't feel like when I got home from work at the end of the day that I really felt I'd made a difference to people's lives. And I can't remember exactly when it happened, but one day I thought, do you know what, I don't just want to carry on doing what I'm doing, I want to go and use the skills that I'd built up over the years to go and do a different job where I really felt I was making a difference to people's lives. But what I was inspired by was seeing people having difficult times but making something out of those difficult times and moving forward and having a better life for themselves, and I wanted to be able to help people. Quite often we'll all have things that have happened in our lives or to people that we live with that maybe makes us think, do you know what, we've been through difficult times and I'd like to help other people to try to get through their difficult times.
Does your faith help you in your role?
Oh yes. There are some times when things don't always go to plan, and it could be when you're dealing with people that are coming to the service. They may not always smell very nice, or because they've got emotional problems or there's problems in their brain, they might not always talk to you very nicely, and sometimes they use bad language. So my faith helps me to understand that they're not in the best place, that I can hopefully help people, and so be kind, and in being kind to them, especially when they need it, it can calm them down and they might go on and have a better day.
Do you only help Christians?
No. It's not for me to judge them, it's just to show them the love, so I will help anybody and everybody if I can. Anybody who comes to the door, so whether they want clothing, if they're not Christians, we won't stop them and say you've got to be a Christian before we give you clothing. We help everybody, yeah?